So everyone knows the theory of Darwin, which is the theory that we came from monkeys. There's another theory that says that actually the theory of Darwin was the other way around, that the monkey actually came from us. So let's say we came from a generation of human being that was dropped here on our planet, and within evolution, let's say they dropped us here for millions of years and never came back. The idea is that we would have became a monkey instead of being the other way around. And if you think about a wild child, which a wild child is, if you leave a child in the forest for a couple of years, let's say as a baby, and then he becomes an adult, the theory is that this child becomes a wild child and will never learn how to talk ever. Like there's something about our DNA. So let's say we were a wild child for millions of years. Well, the theory of Darwin would not make sense. So basically, I'm going to show you a clip on Joe Rogan that explains that a little bit within the monkeys, and how some of the monkeys, some of them kept the white around the eyes, like what we have, and that some of these monkeys could be our ancestors hadn't transformed properly yet.
In a film I made a few years ago at Ngogo, and his name was Pincer. And when I first saw shots of Pincer, I felt this there's something different about this chimp. And I don't know what it is. And in hindsight, I can't really believe that I couldn't spot it. But there was something just seemed very human about him. And I was sort of looking more closely. And I realized Pincer had sort of completely white sclera. Like you and I, right? So, when I look over like that, you know exactly where I'm looking, and that's it's an important part of human cooperation. We follow each other's gaze, and therefore what it is I'm interested in, or maybe what I'm about to do. But in chimps, I was reading around it after I saw this chimp Pincer with his white sclera, whites of the eyes. Officially, chimps don't have this characteristic. They're supposed to all have brown, where we have whites of the eyes, they have brown. So the difference in color between the iris and here is less similar.
So
there we are.
This is that one.
Yeah. Okay. It's a good one. That's not even the best sort of picture of Pincer. And obviously you can see a bit of discoloration, they look like quite unhealthy whites of the eyes there, but he has a very defined difference between his iris and whites of the eyes. So with Pincer, even at a distance, you can see where he's looking. That may not seem like much, but in a species where we don't fully understand their communication, or they appear to be doing things without any vocalizations, I wondered, how come Pincer's got this, and what impact does it have? I talked to, there are other examples, actually, and there was a chimp in Gombe, I think he was called Mr. Wurzel, who had very good example of whites of the eyes as well. But we started looking into it at Ngogo, and I started talking to the scientists about it, and they were like, well, yeah, Pincer does have whites of the eyes. We've never really thought about it that much, and it's not that they didn't notice, but as filmmakers with our lenses and things, we're often looking at the chimps in a level of detail that the scientists don't see every day. So in a way, we're sort of providing them with some sort of visual data that was of interest, and actually they did a proper study on it at Ngogo and tried to find how many chimps at Ngogo had this sort of whites of the eyes. And they found, I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was quite a reasonable percentage of it. Either had it, pincer's a great example, but had some version of that. They don't know why this is, but in my sort of excited sort of way, I was thinking, well, here's the biggest group of chimps ever known. They cooperate on levels that you don't see regularly in other chimpanzee groups. They're on these territorial boundary patrols all the time. They hunt all the time. They're very successful on a cooperative level, and they appear to be doing these things in silence. What role do these whites of the eyes play? And anecdotally, the scientists kind of agreed that there was, there's a possibility that it does play some role. Like I say, they're scientists, so it's different. They need the data to support that. But
this whites of the eyes characteristic, this is a very unusual characteristic. It's very unusual genetic variation.
It is.
How common is that variation?
I remember one of the scientists there, who was there years ago when I was there, Kevin Potts, and like I say, they'd say different things around the fire at night as to what they'd say in the scientific papers. Well, I remember Kevin going, "Oh, I'm totally with you on Pincer," and he said, "Honestly, some days I'll be out there following Pincer around, and he's just sitting there close to me, and I just think, God, any minute he's gonna just turn around and say, 'What are you doing, Kevin?'"